Hi everyone, my name is AJ and welcome to my channel. Now, I've been driving every single type of Toyota for 20 years. Almost every single type of Camry that has hit the road, both hybrid and gas alike, I have been behind the wheel. And I'll tell you this, I have a lot to review and go over with you on the 2025 Camry. I'm actually very excited to go over it. The Camry nameplate debuted in 1983. And since then has skyrocketed to become one of the #1 selling cars in North America and holds the title for the #1 selling midsize sedan of all time. Now, in the last few years, we have witnessed the midsize segment growing smaller and smaller. A lot of manufacturers have just been getting rid of their midsize sedan altogether. So now fast forward 42 years since its debut, we now have the 9th generation coming out, and this is a very important launch for Toyota. Absolutely critical, because holding the crown in a diminishing segment like this one is more important than ever. And so Toyota gave the nod to Calties out of Michigan and California to actually design. They're the first US-based American design team to actually build this Toyota. So they had an enormous task ahead of them, and they ran with it. They did not want to come out and just revolutionize it and bring it into a whole new scope. They didn't even need to do that, because the previous generation, the 8th generation, which is now going out, was an absolute design masterpiece. Unlike any Camry that has ever come before it, none had come out like the 8th generation. Just beautiful, but there were flaws to it. I owned an 8th generation Camry XSE, and while I loved it, I loved the design, I loved the drive of it, the CVT transmission left a little to be desired. It was kind of almost searching sometimes just to find that right spot, and it wasn't really ideal, especially for the hybrid. When you press that EV button, if you're a Toyota owner and have ever owned a Toyota hybrid, you know what I'm talking about right now. That EV button was pretty much useless. We have a US-based design team, and the Camry's built in Georgetown, Kentucky. We pretty much see here the most American road car you could possibly find, and I just love that. So now we have the 5th generation hybrid technology, the latest and greatest, which I will also go over, paired with an all-wheel drive hybrid, and I just can't wait to show you guys exactly what this thing is all about. Now, this hood has to be the heaviest thing I've ever lifted. They've clearly gone with just steel on this thing, and it would have been nice to see, you know, the struts in an automatic opening hood here, because this is a heck of a go just lifting this thing. I hope you don't need to lift it too often. Luckily, it's a Toyota, but this adds some serious weight, which usually goes contrary to what Toyota does for hybrids when they try to make them so lean and light and aerodynamic. But moving on, one of the honest things about this engine so far is the rating of this 0W8 oil. I mean, it's almost like water. Now, I don't believe you're at any risk for the vehicle in the sense of its reliability. The engine is designed around this oil, so you don't need to worry about anything like that. Now, the 5th generation hybrid technology has leaned up. It's gotten lighter electric motors. They're more powerful. They're immediately more noticeable when you start driving with the vehicle. The one thing, as I had mentioned earlier, is now if you're new to Toyota hybrids, you're not really going to notice a big difference. But if you're not new to it, you will notice a substantial difference. 30 more horsepower in the XSE and the XLE, on top of that with some of the weight reduction. Ultimately, the hybrid technology in the Camry, it will decide how to use both electric and gas based on your requirements or based on the settings that you're using it. So trust it to do that, because we've always trusted them to do what they need to do if they've never failed us. But it is nice that we can actually press the EV button for a change, and it will actually do something. It's a 4-cylinder, 2.5-liter engine, and in the front-wheel drive model, it'll come with 225 horsepower. And in the XLE and the all-wheel drive model, XLE, XSE, both come in all-wheel drive, it will come out at 232 horsepower. And now, instead of using a transfer case and a drive shaft to direct energy to the rear wheels, we now have a 30 kilowatt electric motor exclusively for the rear wheel. So now we're actually improving on efficiency. There's less moving parts to break down. And so now for quick maneuvering, cornering, even slippery conditions, we now have that all-wheel drive in the hybrid. Now, we don't have the nickel metal hydride battery in this one. We do have the lithium. Always, especially in the colder conditions, we do prefer the nickel, but at the same time, lithium has its own uses, a little bit more power generated quickly out of it, according to Toyota. And now, one of the greatest aspects that I personally enjoy, especially in the SE and the XSE lineup, and it's very interesting that there's a stabilizer bar running along the rear of the engine, which I've never seen in a Camry before. On top of that, a Ram-like air intake in the front. Very impressive. They really did focus on making the 2025 Camry SE and XSE more of a driver's car. And if you look at some of the higher end vehicles that are known to be driver's car, like BMW, I love BMW, they are driver's cars, you will spend far more on a vehicle like that. You can't even spend that much on the Camry if you tried. Now, on entering the Camry, it isn't a completely revolutionary design. One of the great things about the design team when they went into this is they wanted to really improve upon a really great design for the 8th generation. And they've done that perfectly. I love that they're doing the longer screens. They're not big, gigantic, almost movie-like screens. It's very elegant. The design, the fit, and the finish just blends perfectly with what I expect of Toyota standards. Now, some of the black piano trim here, I'm not a fan of black piano trim. I think it looks great in showrooms, and I think it looks great when you take pictures. The longevity of it, when you press and you touch it, it gets so dusty, and it's very clear because it's such a shiny and reflective material. You're gonna notice that. Another great thing is their heated steering wheel button. They finally brought us a heated steering wheel in the Camry where we can turn it on and leave it on and actually come back and it's still on, which is pretty annoying when you're in the winter in a Canadian environment and you leave and you come back to your freezing car, you use your remote starter, but it won't turn on the steering wheel. It's something that I'm glad that they finally fixed. Also, the fact that they left us an actual shift knob, mechanical shift knob that moves. Thank you, Toyota. I can't stand. I know it's technology. I get the futures now. And when you press a button to put it into park or into drive, but there's just something missing from a vehicle that you cannot shift yourself. So very glad that they kept that in there. Your EV mode button, as I mentioned on a number of occasions now, and you're probably getting sick of it, actually works. You have your electric parking brake and your hold button, which is a nice thing to have if you're just going through stop and go traffic. Now, sport, normal, and eco mode right here. The eco mode, if you get into this one, it will dial down the responsiveness of the gas pedal. It will also just reduce the effectiveness and the power of the air conditioning system to really maximize the efficiency. Personally, if you're on a highway and you're optimal, that is the most perfect time to use eco mode. Normal, says it all. And in sport mode, it's simply going to remap your gas pedal so that it's going to give you a little bit more responsiveness. It's going to keep all the motors on and the engines on. And it's going to give you the full power that you're pretty much asking it to do. And now all the seats here are perforated, and the reason for that is because they're air cooled, and which is again a wonderful thing, especially if you live in a hot environment. This will come in both the XSE and the XLE standard. So another great thing that comes standard, at least here in the models in Canada, are the heated front seats as well as the heated steering wheel. You have a 13.2-inch touchscreen display here in front of you in the XSE and the XLE, as well as a 13.2-inch information display as your gauge cluster, which is quite nice. It's also customizable. Leather steering wheel, it's thick, I love it. The XSE and the XLE trim will also come with the 10-inch heads-up display. And this time they've left enough room, far more room than the previous generation, to put your phone and charger. It'll have the wireless charging. But the interesting thing is they actually thought about tablets as well. So if you look at the cup holders, It's open all the way through so that you can put a tablet there if you need to, or other electronic devices. Very cool. So here in front of me on the steering wheel column, whether you're new to Toyota or have had many, this is quite new. What this is the driver camera monitoring system. I have a link right here on how to shut it off. It's quite tiresome, but here's the step-by-step. Check it out right there on how to turn that off if you decide you want to. Other than that, the design, the flow, really great. And the other cool thing about it, this is the first time a Camry Hybrid gets the panoramic moonroof. And now sitting in the back is incredibly spacious. My seat is exactly the way it was as I left it. Now I'm 5'11", I like to take up a lot of room. I have an incredible amount of space here. I mean, even if you take a look at the Land Cruiser and some other vehicles that are almost twice the price of this Camry, I have more room here. So if you like to travel with adults or larger children, older children, they are going to enjoy the drive in your Camry without a doubt. Just sitting back here and looking at the design queue, I really, every time I look or sit in a different position in this Camry, I'm just very impressed by it. Let's go take it for a drive. And so we had to ask ourselves, what exactly was Toyota's philosophy for the 9th generation Camry? And I think it was a brilliant one. Simply expand on the 8th generation outgoing Camry. The 8th generation Camry was unlike any that has ever come out in the history before it. One thing I will say again and again, repeatedly, in any content I will ever create, is that the world owes Akio Toyoda a debt of gratitude, because this man is coming in, the grandson of the original founders of Toyota, came in and absolutely challenged the status quo, because we all know Toyota is well known and documented and proven that they are reliable vehicles. And so this was all they wanted to be known as. But he came in and said, why can't we put the enthusiast and the beauty as well as, because let's be honest, the previous Toyotas, I mean, I'll be the first to say they were not that great looking. It was like buying a washer and dryer. You know it's going to be reliable. That's all you care about. The mid-size segment is dying off. And so now this team has the world's largest auto manufacturer saying, we need you to design the 9th generation Camry. That's a lot of weight on their shoulders, knowing that this sedan segment is whittling every day. Everybody just wants SUVs. But the love affair with a sedan, when you go out on the open road, on a highway, they are so comfortable. And the reason why you're watching this right now is because you're obviously truly considering, is this the right car? I'm in the XSE, and the one thing I can tell you, when they were first coming out and saying, hey, the new Camry is on the way to you guys, I didn't really think I was expecting much. I thought, you know, okay, it's going to be a Camry. It's going to drive okay. It's going to have fans that like it. And my first impressions were great ones. I'm so glad they didn't do that massive Tesla screen thing that they did with the Prius Prime. It's just like a giant theater type screen. This one, it's elegant, it's long, it's not so much in my face as those other ones. And I respect that. I appreciate that. It's a very flowing interior. The fit and the finish. I think as soon as you get into this vehicle, you're going to notice the fit and the finish. The extra 30 horsepower they threw into this also allows me to really hit that gas pedal and take off. And if you've ever driven any type of Toyota hybrid before, it just is clear that when they're coming out with the 5th generation hybrid, that this is a recipient of Toyota's most masterful technology in the hybrid world. And again, we're going to go back to it. Who owns the hybrid world as undisputed king of the hill? Who owns the mid-size sedan segment as undisputed king of the hill? And now, not only do we have all these two combined, but they brought it in a hybrid all-wheel drive system, finally. Thank you, Toyota. this is what we're waiting for. I was so eager to hear when they announced a new GR unit is on the way and they're mums up. I mean, by now, I'm pretty sure that's the MR2 or the Celica. We still don't really know. I will know soon, and believe me, the second I find out and it becomes official, right now it's all internet chatter, but when it becomes official, I'll let you guys know, because I would love to see a GR Camry. That would be just a very interesting, forget that TRD Camry they had before. That doesn't even make sense. The TRD belongs into the truck world now, clearly the off-road world, or the SUVs. GR belongs to the track unit, which is in fact where we will be heading with this, because I want a closed space to really open this thing up. They call it a sport model, so we're gonna find out. We can maneuver into eco, sport, and normal. And when I get into the sport mode, it just remaps the pedal so that I just have it a little bit more, I mean, look at this. This is a Camry. What a beautiful response from this car. And even just switching lanes, I mean, I can just switch them so quickly, and I feel so poised, balanced, and confident. Go test drive it, see for yourself. I mean, you don't need anybody else. This car speaks for itself. Now, on the city manners, I can tell you, this is a car you can drive all day long. I love the bolster when we get a nice rounded bolster on the side. Now, some people, if you're not used to that, it may be a little awkward at first, but I'll tell you this, a vehicle that has that really nice bolster on the wings, it's coming out, it's kind of wrapping around you, you will get used to it very quickly. And I'll tell you this, when you take turns, your body's just swaying less. You're not really moving as much in the seat. And on a daily driving basis, on a day-to-day basis, it's going to reduce your fatigue as you're driving around the city. So city driving, absolute thumbs up. If you're doing a lot of city driving and commuting, you're going to love the 2025 Camry. Let's go around this corner a little bit faster. I mean, it just hugs it. I'm hitting 80 kilometers an hour around this corner, and I can even hit it a little harder. This isn't... Oh, yeah. This is a Camry. I mean, that's all I keep thinking. I'm in a Camry. I can hit the pedal, and it just goes. It just goes. There's just power on tap here. Now, this is truly a Camry that I would highly suggest you go to a dealership and test drive it. See for yourself. Don't take anyone else's word for it, not even mine. If so far what you're seeing is interesting you need to make sure that this fits in your lifestyle. I see that this will fit into the everyday driver, especially if you're in the northern climates. Get into the all-wheel drive system, get winter tires on it. You will have a driving confidence unlike any Camry hybrid they have ever made before. Now, if you are deciding that you are interested in this vehicle and you're planning to go in to a dealership, if you don't know me by now, my name is AJ, and I've been in sales management for most of my life, currently leading one of the top dealers in Ontario. I will walk you step by step, not only on how to get the best deals, but really how to start with step one to make sure that you set up the best deal and the best experiences for you. I'll link that for you guys below. Go ahead and click on that. Make sure you watch it. Educate yourself on exactly how to do it from an insider's point of view, and I promise you will have a much better time. I look around to even try to find something to nitpick about. I'm finding it very difficult to. I have plenty of space here beside me. I guess if I would actually complain about anything, it would be this piano black trim. As beautiful as this is on the bottom, up here on the dashboard, lovely, beautiful. I'm not really touching or putting keys there or things that might scratch it. But here, I'm putting my keys here, I have my phone here. I'm gonna be putting things right here where it could potentially scratch this. And all manufacturers, no matter where you go, they want a car to look a little aged. And I get that. They want to sell new cars every single year, and to attract people that want new cars, some things have to look old. This is probably one of those things right there that I can nitpick about. I don't want black piano trim here. I would have to say that the JBL system in this 2025 Camry XSE really is an excellent system. And the funny thing is you can go from model to model in the Toyota lineup, and they have JBL systems on it, and no two are exactly the same, which is quite odd. Now, interestingly, as I use the paddle shifters, they're actually quite responsive. And when I downshift enough, it's going right into charge using that excess energy that's being wasted, and it's putting it right back into the battery. I haven't seen that before in the Camry. Everything that this vehicle is designed for seems to peak at giving you maximum performance, maximum efficiency, maximum control. And let me tell you, I can't keep saying this enough, they have absolutely nailed the Camry. Now tomorrow, we're off to the track. We're gonna put this thing on the track. I wanna give a big shout out, thank you to Tony Graham Toyota for allowing me the use of this vehicle, one of the largest Toyota dealerships in Ontario, run by enthusiasts, for enthusiasts, and we're just gonna keep showing everything we can to you guys. Keep up, hit a like and subscribe below, and every time I post anything, you guys will be the first ones to know.